And I'm not like that. I'm a planner. I'm a girl too. So like I want to know the drill. I want to know the flow. I want to make the flow, then go with it. I appreciate that about him.
The arena lights dimmed as thousands of fans held their breath, waiting for Miranda Lambert to step on stage. The country music superstar, known for her fierce independence and fiery lyrics, had always delivered electrifying performances filled with passion, grit, and authenticity. But that night, something felt different. As the first notes of The House That Built Me began to play, Miranda's voice quivered, not with emotion from the song, but with something far deeper. Moments later, she stopped mid-performance, tears glistening under the spotlight, and whispered words that would leave the audience in stunned silence. "I can't do this tonight." In an instant, the crowd fell quiet. The band stopped playing. The stage, usually filled with confidence and energy, became a space of vulnerability. Miranda Lambert, the woman who had built her career on strength and resilience, was facing something she could no longer hide. The news that followed would shock fans across the world, a heartbreaking health update that changed everything. For decades, Miranda had been the picture of Southern strength, balancing fame, heartbreak, and the demands of an unforgiving industry. But behind the glamour, she'd been struggling. Those close to her noticed the subtle signs: cancelled meet and greets, fewer public appearances, and visible fatigue during interviews. Fans began to speculate, but Miranda stayed silent, insisting that she was just tired or needing a break. What no one knew then was that Miranda had been fighting a private battle for months, one that would eventually bring her career to a halt. According to insiders, her health had begun deteriorating during her last tour, but she pushed through every show, unwilling to disappoint her loyal fans. "She's always been tough," a close friend later revealed. Even when she was hurting, she wouldn't let anyone see it. The breaking point came one evening in Nashville, her hometown, a place that had always grounded her. That night, as she performed in front of family, friends, and longtime supporters, Miranda began to feel dizzy and short of breath. At first, she brushed it off as exhaustion, but by the third song, she could no longer stand. She clutched the microphone, her voice trembling, and told the audience she needed to stop. Security rushed to help as the crowd erupted in concern, and Miranda was quietly escorted backstage. The next morning, headlines exploded. "Miranda Lambert stops mid-concert. Fans left in shock." Speculation ran wild. Was it stress? Exhaustion? Something worse? Hours later, Miranda's team released a short statement, confirming what fans feared most. Miranda had received a devastating health diagnosis. Out of respect for her privacy, they didn't immediately share the details, but her words that followed were haunting. "I've spent my life giving everything I have to music, but now I have to focus on staying healthy. I owe that to myself and to those who love me." The country music world was stunned. Tributes poured in from fellow artists, Carrie Underwood, Blake Shelton, and Reba McEntire among them, all expressing love and support. Fans filled social media with messages of hope and prayers, remembering how Miranda's songs had helped them through their own struggles. To understand the weight of this moment, you have to understand Miranda's journey, the years of tireless work, emotional resilience, and unrelenting determination that defined her career. From her early days in Texas bars to becoming one of country music's most powerful voices, she built everything from the ground up. Her music wasn't just entertainment, it was truth, wrapped in melody and fire. But now, that same voice, the one that told stories of heartbreak, revenge, and redemption, was silenced by something beyond her control. Fans around the world waited anxiously for updates, fearing that this might be the end of Miranda's legendary career. Little did they know, behind the scenes, Miranda was facing the most difficult chapter of her life, a struggle that would test not only her body but also her spirit. The next few months would reveal just how much pain she had endured in silence, and how once again she would prove her strength in the face of unimaginable adversity. When the truth finally surfaced, it broke the hearts of millions. After weeks of silence and endless speculation, Miranda Lambert decided to speak directly to her fans through an emotional video message. Sitting in her Nashville home, her voice gentle but tired, She began with words that carried a weight of pain and honesty. "I've always believed in being real with y'all. I've never been one to hide behind a smile when things aren't okay. The truth is, I've been struggling with my health for a while now." She paused, her hands trembling slightly as she gathered her thoughts. "I was diagnosed earlier this year," she continued, her voice cracking. "At first, I thought I could manage it quietly, just keep pushing through. But my body had other plans." She didn't go into every medical detail, but she revealed that her doctors had advised her to cancel the rest of her tour immediately. The strain of performing night after night had made her condition worse, and continuing could cause permanent damage. The message sent shockwaves through the music community. Fans who had followed Miranda since her Nashville star days couldn't believe it. Here was a woman who had sung about surviving heartbreak, standing strong, and rising after every fall, now facing a battle she couldn't simply fight with willpower alone. Miranda's words were filled with vulnerability. "I've always lived my life through music," she said softly. "It's been my therapy, my escape, and my way of connecting with people. But right now I have to step away from the stage and focus on healing, physically and emotionally. This isn't goodbye forever, it's just goodbye for now." Those close to her say that decision wasn't easy. Miranda had built her career on relentless dedication. She was known for touring more than almost anyone else in the country scene, a true road warrior who poured everything into every show. But this time, her body forced her to listen. Her doctors warned that if she didn't take time off, her condition could worsen. Friends later described her as heartbroken, but resolute. "She's not someone who likes to sit still," said one insider. "She's always been the kind of person who works through the pain." So, for her to step away, that tells you just how serious it is. Fans flooded social media with messages of love, using the hashtag #PrayForMiranda, which trended worldwide within hours. Her husband, Brendan McLaughlin, became her biggest source of strength. He was seen accompanying her to appointments, shielding her from paparazzi, and making sure she had everything she needed during recovery. In interviews, Miranda later said, "Brendan's been my rock. When everything feels uncertain, he reminds me what really matters: love, family, and faith." Even though Miranda stepped back from performing, her creative spirit didn't fade. She began writing again, not for an album, but as a form of healing. Those who've heard snippets of her new songs say they're some of her most emotional work yet, a reflection of pain, gratitude, and rebirth. One lyric that leaked online captured hearts everywhere. "The stage went quiet, but my soul still sings. Even when the light fades, hope has wings." Behind the scenes, Miranda also made lifestyle changes. She slowed down her schedule, focused on wellness, and spent more time at her Tennessee farm, surrounded by nature and animals. The things that had always brought her peace. "Sometimes," she told a close friend, "God makes you stop so you can learn to breathe again." Industry friends like Casey Musgraves, Ashley McBride, and Maren Morris reached out with support. Blake Shelton, despite their complicated history, reportedly sent flowers and a private note wishing her strength. "There's still respect there," a source revealed. "They shared years of memories, and he genuinely wants her to be okay." As weeks passed, fans began to see glimpses of the old Miranda, smiling in candid photos, walking her dogs and sharing quiet moments online. But insiders say the experience changed her profoundly. She became more reflective, more aware of how fleeting fame and health can be. "I've learned that being strong doesn't always mean pushing through," she later shared in an interview. "Sometimes, real strength is knowing when to rest, when to say, 'I need help.' That's not weakness. That's human." The world saw a different side of Miranda Lambert, softer, more open, and more courageous than ever before. But what came next would leave even her closest friends speechless, a decision that would redefine her career and show just how much she had grown through pain. As the weeks turned into months, Miranda Lambert's absence from the stage became one of the most discussed topics in country music. Fans wondered if she would ever return, or if this tragic health scare had ended her touring days for good. But what many didn't know was that behind the scenes, Miranda was quietly planning something that would leave the entire industry stunned. While she was focusing on recovery, Miranda spent long days reflecting on her journey, from her early days in Texas honky-tonks to becoming one of country music's most celebrated icons. She realized that, for years, she had been living life in constant motion, chasing deadlines, performing endlessly, and trying to meet the expectations that fame demanded. "I forgot what stillness felt like," she admitted in a later interview. "For the first time in my adult life, I stopped running." During that quiet time, Miranda began working on something deeply personal, an acoustic project she described as a diary of the soul. Unlike her usual albums full of fiery anthems and heartbreak songs, this collection focused on vulnerability, acceptance, and the fragile beauty of life itself. She called it Barefoot Truths. Every track was stripped down, just her voice, a guitar, and raw emotion. Her close friends who heard early demos were floored. "It's unlike anything she's ever done," one said. It's Miranda at her most honest. No filters, no glamour, just truth. But even as she poured her heart into this new creative chapter, the lingering question remained. Would she ever perform Live Again? The answer came during a surprise interview with Rolling Stone Country. When asked about her touring future, Miranda smiled sadly and said, "I don't know if I'll ever tour the way I used to. The road takes a lot from you, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I love my fans, but right now I have to love myself a little more." That single quote sparked headlines everywhere. Miranda Lambert might be retiring from touring. Country queen says goodbye to the road. For fans who had followed her for nearly 2 decades, the thought was heartbreaking. Her concerts weren't just performances. They were communal experiences filled with laughter, tears, and the spirit of resilience. Yet, as the news spread, something remarkable happened. Fans didn't express anger or disappointment. They responded with gratitude. "You've given us more than enough," one fan wrote. "Now it's time for you to heal." As Miranda regained strength, she decided to return to the stage, but on her own terms. Instead of massive arenas or long tours, she announced a series of small, intimate shows in Nashville and Austin. Each performance was limited to just a few hundred attendees, and the tickets sold out within minutes. These shows weren't about spectacle. They were about connection. No pyrotechnics, no backup dancers, just Miranda, her guitar, and a story behind every song. The first night back was electric. As she walked onto the dimly lit stage in a simple denim jacket and boots, the crowd erupted in applause that lasted nearly 5 minutes. She looked overwhelmed, tears welling in her eyes. "I didn't think I'd be here again," she whispered into the microphone. "Thank you all for waiting." Throughout the show, she mixed old hits with new songs from Barefoot Truths. But it was one moment in particular that silenced the entire room. Midway through her set, Miranda stopped playing, took a deep breath, and said softly, "Before all this, I thought I had to be strong all the time. But I learned that real strength comes from letting yourself feel weak sometimes." The crowd responded with a standing ovation, not just for her music, but for her courage to be vulnerable. After the performance, social media exploded with clips and comments praising her return. "This wasn't a concert," one fan tweeted. "It was a spiritual experience." Critics hailed it as one of the most emotional comebacks in country music history. Behind the scenes, Miranda's family and close circle were emotional too. Her husband Brendan reportedly said, "I've never seen her more at peace. She's not chasing anything anymore, she's just being herself." But while fans celebrated her triumphant return, there was still a shadow hanging over her health. Doctors warned that the condition she was battling could return if she pushed herself too hard. And though Miranda tried to stay positive, those close to her say she was quietly scared. "Every day is a balancing act," she confided to a friend. "I want to live fully, but I also don't want to break again." Her story had become something larger than music. It was a story about perseverance, self-love, and finding meaning beyond fame. But what happened next would test Miranda like never before, a moment that would remind her, and the world, just how fragile life can be. Just when it seemed Miranda Lambert was finally finding her balance again, fate dealt another unexpected blow. Only a few months after her emotional return to the stage, news broke that Miranda had been rushed to the hospital following complications related to her ongoing condition. Details were scarce at first, and fans feared the worst. Her team released a short statement. Miranda is under medical care and appreciates everyone's love and prayers. We ask for privacy as she focuses on recovery. The country music community was shaken. Social media filled with worried messages, tributes, and prayers from fans around the world. Radio stations across Nashville played her songs non-stop, and fellow artists dedicated their performances to her. For many, it was a painful reminder of how fragile life could be, even for someone as strong and resilient as Miranda Lambert. Thankfully, after several tense days, good news finally came. Miranda's condition had stabilized, and she was expected to make a full recovery. But the episode was a wake-up call. Those closest to her said that when she woke up in the hospital, she told her husband Brendan, "I can't keep living like this, always pushing myself past the limit." It was at that moment she made a life-changing decision that would redefine her career forever. When Miranda returned home, she held a small press conference, her voice calm but filled with emotion. "This journey has reminded me of something I forgot," she began. "I started singing because I loved it, not because I had to. Somewhere along the way, I turned my passion into pressure. And now I want to find my joy again." Then came the announcement that left everyone speechless. Miranda Lambert revealed she would be stepping away from touring indefinitely. Not retiring completely, but leaving behind the grueling road life that had defined her for 2 decades. "I'm not saying goodbye to music," she clarified. "I'm saying goodbye to the lifestyle that was slowly breaking me." The decision sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Some fans cried, others applauded her bravery. But one thing was clear: Miranda was finally choosing peace over pressure. "She's doing what so many artists wish they could do," one insider said. "She's walking away on her own terms." Miranda soon relocated to her beloved farm outside Nashville full-time, trading arena lights for sunsets and open fields. There, she began focusing on songwriting, mentoring younger artists, and spending quiet mornings with Brendan and her rescue animals. She started posting glimpses of her simpler life, tending to her garden, playing guitar on the porch, and writing songs about healing and gratitude. In one of her most heartfelt social media posts, she wrote, "The world made me famous, but the countryside made me whole again. Sometimes you have to lose everything you thought you wanted to find what you really need." As months passed, Miranda's health slowly improved. Her doctors credited her new stress-free lifestyle, while she credited faith and love. "When you're faced with something that reminds you how short life is," she said, "you start cherishing every small, quiet moment." In 2025, Miranda released Barefoot Truths, her acoustic album recorded in her home studio. Critics called it her most mature and emotional work to date. It topped charts worldwide, not because of flashy promotion or tours, but because it spoke directly to the soul. One critic from Rolling Stone wrote, "This isn't just music. It's a confession of a woman who found herself after nearly losing everything." Miranda also launched a foundation to support women in the music industry struggling with burnout and mental health challenges. "I don't want others to hit the wall before realizing they need to take care of themselves," she explained. "If my story can save someone else from that pain, then it's all worth it." In a rare TV interview, Miranda was asked if she missed the spotlight. She smiled gently and said, "Not really. I've had my time in the light. Now I'm happy just living in peace. I still sing every day. Maybe not for thousands, but for the ones I love." And that's enough. Her fans understood, because Miranda Lambert's story was never just about fame. It was about authenticity, courage, and the power to start over. And as the sun sets over her Tennessee farm, the woman once known as country music's fiery rebel now lives quietly, content with her choices, and stronger than ever, as one fan beautifully put it online. "She gave us her voice for 20 years. Now it's time for her to listen to her heart.